Welcome to the Hire Truckers Podcast, where we interview experts in driver recruiting. We provide industry insights, marketing trends, and motivation to help you level up your recruiting game. Welcome to the Hire Truckers Podcast. I'm Aaron Craddock, and today I have Stacy Pressgrove and Sandie Hutto with Hobby Lobby. They've both been in the industry over 2 decades, and so I'm super excited to have them on, just both for the Hobby Lobby brand and just learning more about what makes it different. And then also just with the wealth of experience and that they have. And Sandie has been with Hobby Lobby for over 20 years and helped grow the fleet in the last 10 years from 100 to almost 800 drivers. And then Stacy has been in the transportation industry. She was at Walmart for a long time and has been in the industry over 20 years as well. So thank you guys for making the time today to join me and have this conversation.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, and so the different questions we're going to cover today are things around just a growth mindset. That's one of our core values. And then radical honesty, just how are we honest with drivers and how does that impact things? And then just a giving spirit, which I think that's why I'm super excited when Ginger said that she had talked with you guys to have you on today, because I think y'all embody just Hobby Lobby as an organization. And then from what I see you guys posting on LinkedIn, just you promote your drivers and promote all of those core values. So just to kind of kick us off, a non-industry related thing, what goals are you working on outside of work right now?
Outside of work, probably just trying to get more active. You know, the older we get, the more we like to sit. And so just keeping active.
I'm involved in so many grandkids sports and stuff that I'm gone somewhere all the time.
She's on the go.
How many grandkids?
15.
15. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So is that like all weekend, every weekend?
Yes.
That's great. I have 2 littles. We have a 14-month-old boy and then a 4-year-old. He just turned 4. And it's just such a blessing, but it also just changes the dynamic of time. I didn't realize how much free time I had until I had 2 littles, and just going nonstop and just reprioritizing things. Like we don't even watch TV anymore just because there's no time. It's like we'd rather be doing other things. And so just the whole dynamic and time management have changed. And then I also relate to the being active component, because sitting at a desk, I just have to be intentional and get out and walk and take a call, get to the gym, go on a hike with the family.
We do have a gym right here for our drivers that we can use too.
That's awesome. So in office there, you have a gym? That's awesome. So going into the next question. So what advice do you have for peers in the industry?
Mine would be honest. Let them know up front what they're getting into. You know, as far as what you're offering, be honest what you're offering and what they're going to be getting.
The thing is, if you're not honest, they're not going to be going where they want to be. You know, if you can't give them what they're looking for, they're going to go elsewhere looking for it. So to be honest right up front, we would much rather these drivers know exactly what they're coming into when they get here. You know, we're not for everybody. It's a great company. They get a lot of benefits here, but they work for it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you're saying honesty in the context of just telling them like, hey, here are some of the challenges with the role here. Mm-hmm. Like exactly. What ways are you guys honest with drivers?
Well, the fact that they're going to run hard for the 5 days they're out on our team drivers. You know, with trucking companies, it seems like their drivers sit a lot, especially wherever they're going to load or unload. We're all working for the same company here. So it's a little bit different and dynamic in the fact our drivers are on set routes. They leave out the same day every week. They go to the same store on the same day at the same time, same 2 days back home. If they want to stop and take a shower, they plan that into where they're going to have time available to do that.
And it's and so this is all team drivers?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We have some solo freight between Hutchins, Texas, and Oklahoma City. That's the only solo freight we have.
Okay. And so, Sandie, I'm just kind of curious, like how it's looked going from like 100 drivers to 800 drivers. What has that growth been like just from your seat?
Well, it wasn't overnight. It's been actually 11 years in the growing, from 100 to almost 800. But we use less dedicated carriers now than we were using in the beginning. Every year, some of those go away as we add to our fleet. That's the biggest.
And so you still have dedicated routes like with other carriers, and then you have Hobby Lobby transportation that hauls the rest. What percentage is hauled via your own fleet versus those dedicated carriers?
I don't even know.
As a guess, I would say 80% Hobby Lobby, 20% outside.
That's awesome.
Every one of our stores get a full truckload every week. Their store number actually determines what day of the week. But some of these stores require multiple truckloads. So the first load out, which we call the A load, is when our drivers are hauling. It's going to be the first load that goes in there. Then the outside carriers deliver the rest.
Okay. That's awesome. So you just have that excess capacity through the outside carriers. One thing I'm curious about is just what do you love about working with Hobby Lobby? Like I feel like it just from the outside looking in, I feel like it has a unique culture. But what do each of you love about working at Hobby Lobby?
We grew from small to big, but we know every one of our drivers. Where a lot of companies can't say that. We take the time to get to know them. And once we get them in here, we're not through with them. We continue to stay involved in anything they need help with, whether it be changing a beneficiary to, taking a child this morning. I had a driver in here, his son had reached 26. Need to take him off the insurance. So they come in here, all the time for us to keep interacting with them. And we know each other.
Yeah, that's a big part. And we stay involved with them. And Hobby Lobby seems like there's always something more to learn because it's not, that's their job and that's your job. If something needs to be done, it needs to be done. And you can learn something new and help with whatever processes are going on right now. Past 2 days, we've had a hot dog cookout for the drivers thank goodness it's quit snowing. And everyone just pitched in. We had people, cooking, serving, cleaning up tables because we all do what needs to be done. And that's what I like about it. No one ever says that's not my job.
That's awesome. Just showing that appreciation just is so important, and doing it outside of Driver Appreciation Week. That's pretty cool. What do you guys do for like onboarding, like keeping in touch with the driver in those first 30, 60, 90 days?
We don't have anything in writing other than at 90 days, Sandie usually makes a phone call to them to make sure they've got their insurance card and all that. But other than that, we make an effort to walk the halls, and we see so-and-so that just started, 2 weeks ago. We're stopping them. How's your route? Is the truck good? We just keep interacting with them. We'll go to the break room and get a drink, and we'll see one of the new teams in there. We might sit down and ask them what's been going on. Are they getting home on time? Is it what they thought it was going to be? So
they're getting enough miles.
Yes, enough
and
miles.
Stacy's real good about staying up with them for the first week or two, actually, because she plans out what they're going to do during that week. She came from dispatch, so she knows how to do that portion of it. And she stays with them. We book their hotel for the week, the whole bit. They do a pattern we set up for them. And they only have 1 day in the office, and from then on, it's out on the road. And so she keeps a real good track of them for the first week or two. And then I call them somewhere between 60 and 90 days, really to find out if everything's going the way they thought it was going to. If they have any problems, if somebody's not helping them, maybe they have a route they don't like or don't care for. Maybe it's not the days that they wanted at home. We can't always adjust that, but there is a wish list they can get on at some point. but we want to make sure they're getting enough miles. Everything that we talked to them about before we brought them on, we want to make sure they've seen each one of these things, that there's not any problems.
That's awesome. Do you ever hear from drivers just kind of like appreciation for the way you do certain things, like relative to other fleets they've been with in the past? And so,
all the time.
So give me some examples of that, like that are differentiators with Hobby Lobby that you hear directly from drivers.
We had a driver call on Tuesday morning. He needed to go get his physical redone. Told me when he was going to be home. I filled out the paperwork, sent it all for his recertification, and got it all taken care of beforehand so he could pick up the paperwork here before he left and have it all taken care of when he got home. He's like, they never helped us with this. Same thing when they get their certification, they come in and they need to get that updated with their state. We don't depend on them to go do it. We wish that they would take the initiative, but not all of them do. And maybe they just don't have the time to do it. Maybe they're home only on the weekend, not able to get to their state offices to do this. So we do it for them. As long as they come in and tell us, we get a new signed form and send it all over to that state to keep them reinstated.
That's great. And so what does your retention rate look like? Because I know the industry average just across all fleets is like 100% turnover. Like what do you guys see at Hobby Lobby? I know it's a lot lower than that.
About a 3% turnover. Mm-hmm. We have drivers that have been here over 30 years.
That's awesome. And so what do they, a lot of fleets have drivers bounce in and out. Like if you had to pick one or two just differentiators, like what are you guys doing differently as a company to make them want to stay and make a career out of it for 30 years?
To get the miles. They're going to get the miles here before anything else. Maybe more miles than they want, but they're going to get them every week and their check stays the same. They can almost count on that check being to the penny almost the same every payday.
Yeah. You don't mess with the driver's paycheck or their time home. And those are the two things that we seem to focus on. We have their paycheck almost the same each week, and then they go home the same days each week. And that's what a lot of them are looking for.
And so not every driver's home on weekends, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's just kind of a mix of days. It could be a Monday, Tuesday, and then out 5, and then some are home weekends.
Sometimes it's Sunday, Monday. They'll get at least one weekend day.
We try to give them at least one, but not all of them have. And some of them don't want it. They want it during the week. Their kids are grown, and they want days they can make appointments at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. That would be a real challenge, like being gone Monday through Friday, and then can't get anything done for the 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, like getting your tag renewed or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm a Christian founder, like of our company, and that's something really important to me. And that, I think Hobby Lobby is known, at least I know them as just having a Christian founder. Like, how is faith like represented in your company culture?
We definitely, make sure that we read the owner's commitment and everything. That's always gone over when they first come in here. But, they don't hold anything against them, whether they're religious or not religious based. Okay. And, one of the things a lot of the drivers assume coming to work at Hobby Lobby, they're going to have Sundays off for church. Unfortunately, that doesn't always work. We still have Monday deliveries. A lot of them are home, at least for a Sunday service, but maybe not, all day or anything like that. That's one of the really big misconceptions. Mm. But we don't put up with like bad language or anything around here. That's told multiple times before they're hired and again during orientation. But when you don't hear bad language around you, it just kind of goes away.
Mm-hmm. And so you think that's one way it kind of impacts it is just the language people use and the way the drivers carry themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You very seldom ever see a Hobby Lobby driver that isn't smiling. That's one of my biggest stills here. I mean, they are always smiling. Well, why? You talk to them and ask them about it's the best job they've ever had. But we listen to them too. Really listen. Some don't. And we really, really try to do that in here. If they have a problem, then we're here for them to come talk to.
Mm-hmm. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Stacy?
I don't think so. Just that we do listen to them, and like she said, they're always smiling. We had someone come in for orientation a few weeks ago, and he said, "I know I made the right decision. This is a good place to work," because everyone that I've seen has been smiling, from the receptionist to the drivers to when I introduced him to his dispatcher.
Yeah, I don't think people think of, just when they think of the transportation industry and drivers, I don't think they think of like smiling, happy people. And so, yeah, what makes them smile? Like, is it kind of like just because some people do, it's infectious, or like, what do you think, if you had to put a finger on like what the differentiator is that leads to that joy within your organization?
We tell them exactly what they're going to expect when they get here. And because of that, there are no misconceptions. They know exactly what they're getting into. And as long as they're getting the miles and the pay and the weekly home time, they're happy. I mean, we've had some that tell me, I came here to get ready for retirement. Why would I retire now? This is a retirement job. I'm home every week.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, for instance, there was one of our drivers, they were affected by the tornado that hit this past week. And we immediately, want to ask them, is everything okay at your household? Did anything get hit? And they're just not used to, the office staff or the recruiters or dispatchers, reaching out and asking them if something in their personal life is okay.
Mm-hmm. So we had another driver in here the other day, and he'd had eye surgery. And when he called in, I asked him how his surgery went and how he's doing. He says, nobody has ever asked me that before. He was just totally shocked that somebody would remember, I guess, and ask him about it. It's part of our nature in here now.
That's so kind of the recurring theme that I'm hearing is just listening well, and like listening differently, and then asking about just personal life. And not everything's just about getting, being in the truck and going from point A to point B. And so what differentiates like a good leader that really listens versus, like you mentioned, Sandie, like listening versus really listening? Like what does it mean to really listen to your staff?
Well, I believe that, you have questions that come up later. If they've told you something that you really believe is important to them, if they don't bring it up, I do. Because it's something that meant enough to them that they brought it up to me, then we need to stay with that and make sure that needs being met.
Mm-hmm. So following up on those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, listening and remembering, just touching base with them again.
That's great. Yeah, it was so funny. Like when I was early in my career, like I've been in the industry around 13 years now, and I had an opportunity early on to lead large teams, and I thought all of the personal stuff, like small talk, is the way I viewed it, was just a waste of time. I was like, let's get the job done. And then I was just humbled early in my career when things didn't work out the way I intended. And most of that was me just not listening well, not talking about things outside of work, just the importance of those relationships. And so one of the things we do in our culture too now is just, I make sure before I onboard people that we know like what their personal goals are, like not just professional, like what are their health goals? Like what are their goals with their family? What are their goals outside of work or side projects or side businesses? And then my aim is like not just provide just a good career like with us, but just to touch back on all those things when I meet with them quarterly. And yeah, just that differentiator has just been a game changer. And I had to learn from not doing it well, like not like listening, but not listening, being like, oh, okay, I'm glad you told me about your dog. But, I would never follow up. And so, yeah, I really appreciate you guys sharing with that because I feel like it's second nature to both you, Stacy and Sandie, like as you share about it, but it's not for a lot of leaders, and especially in this industry. So that's exciting.
I always tell them, if it wasn't for the drivers, we wouldn't have a job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing when I was reading through just the pre-call that you guys did with Ginger was just some different perks. Like you mentioned the gym earlier, but then also like their parking looks a little different than a lot of companies. Like what are kind of some differentiators in terms of perks at your office for your drivers?
Our Oklahoma drivers have covered parking. That's kind of different. We don't have covered parking. They have covered parking. So that was something that Barbara Green insisted on doing for the Oklahoma drivers.
That's awesome.
They all have assigned parking and stuff out here too. So there's nothing left to chance. They've got parking up here in the front part that aren't numbered or anything, but they're just running in here to do something. But they also have their own parking places too.
Mm-hmm. Because that can be one of the most frustrating things is to get somewhere and not have a place to park. We know the struggle across the country with parking right now.
And we have a company van. If a driver's here from out of town and he needs to run and pick up something, we give him the company van. He runs off and gets it and comes back, signs it out, and the next driver comes along for it too.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So one of the things I do just in following you guys on LinkedIn, which if you're not following Stacy and Sandie, I highly recommend it because they do a really good job of promoting their drivers. But one of the things I see is you guys are always just promoting drivers. Like this driver had 16 years experience, or here's a picture of their dog, and different things like that. Like, how do you get all that content? Like, I know you have busy jobs, and how do you also have the time or systematize getting that content and promoting your drivers in that way?
Stacy's great about running and getting pictures of everybody. But we can also see right outside these windows where the drivers are parked. You can look out there and you'll see their animals in the truck. Sometimes we'll just walk out there and take a picture. They take them, they have a grassy area where they can take them for a walk or whatever. And you know which ones are their babies are in the truck with them, And they're always willing and eager to talk about their babies in the truck. So
that's awesome. So one thing that I heard about was the bulletin board. I think it's Stacy you have in your office with like pictures of different drivers.
We actually put it in our driver's lounge.
Okay, in the driver lounge. Okay, not in your office. But can you tell me a little bit about that bulletin board and the impact on drivers?
We just started it. We have an area for like awards, million-mile drivers, like you said, the 16-year award, the 20-year, awards. We also have new drivers. So when our new drivers come in, we will take a picture, put them on the board, welcome these new drivers from Texas, Tennessee. And you can see the drivers walking by, and if they see their picture up there, they'll kind of snap a picture with their phone, and, they're wanting to show their family or something. So I think they've all really, they like it. They like seeing, it's just might be a 5-year award, but it's like, hey, someone recognized and remembers that I've been here 5 years.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I just feel like that would build just even more of a sense of community because, one of the benefits of being with a team driver is you have somebody with you. You're not completely alone, but it can be lonely on the road. So I would imagine drivers too, just seeing other drivers and like whether it's another one with a pet they can relate to or like their husband-wife team and they relate to another husband-wife team. Like I could see just the impact of being able to connect and community as well.
Yes, and we also have a newsletter that we put out every other month. And just this past, March, we had our safety meeting, which a lot of the drivers who don't live here were in Oklahoma for the weekend. And they all got together and they had a cookout. Several of them went fishing. They sent me pictures. We added stuff like that into the newsletter, and they just loved it. They love seeing that, the pictures of themselves out having fun with their friends that they probably talk to daily or weekly when they're out on the road, but they don't get to hang out with and spend time with.
Mm-hmm. So they did fishing in Oklahoma there?
Uh-huh.
What kind of fishing? I'm just curious.
By the fish, I couldn't really tell. There wasn't any really big ones, but I think they went out to a pond, pond fishing. So probably bass, crappie.
That's awesome.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. I just love getting out in nature and fishing. I've never really been into hunting, but just because I wasn't raised doing that. But fishing is a big thing. Like Ginger that you met, they have a ranch about an hour outside of Austin, and a couple, they call them tanks, not ponds. But me and I think I have a picture of my son at 2, holding a fish, our first son, and it's just fun. Anytime we get out there, they're like, "Let's go fishing." So good memories. Today's sponsor. Do you hire truck drivers in hard to fill areas, or do you need help creating efficiency in your recruiting department? You're not alone. With 50 plus years experience, Trucking Click specializes in data-driven strategies, industry-leading customer experience, and custom solutions that'll get you to your goal. Trucking Clicks is your go-to place for high-quality, direct leads at scale. Visit truckingclicks.com or call 512-982-0816 today. So what did I not ask that I should have asked that you guys think might add value to some of your peers in the industry?
Really, I can't stress enough the listening. Just listen to them. And you don't want to just put them off. If you don't know the answer, find out what it is. They'd much rather have an honest answer than just be brushed aside, even if it's not the answer they wanted.
And a lot of drivers have said with their dispatchers as well, it's encouraged if someone has called you, call them back. You always get back in touch with the drivers if they've reached out to you. And because you're not always available right when they need you, but you can always make time to call them back. Heard you stop by the office. Were you needing something?
Mm-hmm. So that follow-up is really important. If you say you're going to get back to somebody, getting back to them.
Yes.
How do you systematize that? I'm just curious. Because I imagine you're really, have a lot going on with different orientation classes and things like that. How do you systematize that follow-up?
It's just part
we do it daily.
It's just part of what we do.
It's just a habit at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's something I can definitely get better at. I think I intend, I meet a lot of people just at industry events and different things. And I have an intention to reach back out to everybody, but don't always do the best job following up. So I'm kind of encouraged by just how well you guys do that with your drivers.
We have a lot that are veterans, and we share this Reese Across America project with them every year at Christmas, and we rotate that amongst our veterans. Plus, all of them get a veteran sticker for their truck and stuff when they come in here. Those things are really important. It may seem like a small thing to everybody else, but it's not. Not to them. Not to them.
Mm-hmm. So actually, our episode that came out I think it was last Monday, was Courtney George with Reese Across America. I met her back in her SIA days when she was there, working with them on the recruiting side, and she transitioned to Reese Across America. And when I was asking about guests to have on the show after we had done the first couple episodes, everybody was like, Courtney. And so after 10 people said, get her on the show, I got her on. And one of the stories she shared was just the sound in the tip land where they get the, I don't know what to call it, but the tree clippings for the reeds, the tips of the trees, they have over, I think it's over 16,000 dog tags. And she tells a story like that's in the show of just sitting in her car with the windows down and like hearing as the wind blows, like the almost like a wind chime of all those dog tags, and then like thinking of the impact of all those, thousands of people had and what they did for our country. And so so I'm just encouraged you guys are partnering with Rees Across America. And
We've been at probably 6-7 years now. And we've gradually moved up. First, it was this one in Arlington. It was Arlington and Houston for several years. But this last year, we were going to give them one to Oklahoma. It had multiple drops in it all over it, but we actually got to physically go and distribute some of these, which we'd never had to do that portion. So it was really nice.
And so you actually personally got to go out there?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That's something I have not done yet. I actually assumed, as of a few months ago, I thought it was only in Arlington.
No.
And then Courtney was at, I think it was the TCA in Nashville, and she was sharing about how just they're in like basically every community that has a cemetery. And I think it was 3 million wreaths they put out last year, and they're going to do even more this year. And so that's really cool. I've got to find out what's in and around Austin so I can like take my young ones to my little guys just to be a part of that.
Houston and Arlington, and then the one here.
Oh, you do Houston too? Mm-hmm. That's cool. I might have to make that one because that's not far from me.
Right.
Because I actually Ginger that you guys met, like she's between Austin and Houston, and you might have noticed the same last name. Like Ginger's my mom. So
okay.
And I never imagined I'd work with family, and she plugged in not long after I started the company. Just kept on being like, "Hey, how can I help? How can I help?" And then eventually she was doing so much, I was like, "Well, I think you need to like actually join our team." And then it's been a lot of fun. Like I know some people like say that it's a challenge to work with family, but that for us it's been a real joy. And
we have a lot of family here. Big on that. My daughter works here at night. She's a night dispatch.
That's awesome. How long has she been there?
2 years.
2 years.
So now we didn't used to have this position, and she's here from like 9 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning. And so there's somebody here 24/7. To another girl that comes in like at 4 o'clock till midnight or something like that. And then she's here at the 9 to 6.
And so you have drivers running their dedicated routes like at night too.
24/7.
That's awesome.
So we have father-son teams. We have brother teams.
We even had a mother-in-law, son-in-law team. But we don't put men and women in the same truck unless they're married here or family.
Or related, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've got brother, sister.
What is the, I see a lot of pictures with pets. I'm kind of curious too, like what's the pet policy look like?
There's no deposit.
No deposit, up to 2 pets, and it has to be agreed upon by both drivers. And the truck needs to be clean if they move out of that truck.
There's no deposit or anything asked, just a copy of the shot records.
Yes, we keep a copy of the shot records. So
a lot of drivers, that's a make it or break it deal right there. If they can't bring their babies with them in the truck, they're not coming.
Yeah, we waited around, I think it was 9 years before we had our first kid when Lauren and I got married, and so we had dogs like early on, and so we have 3, and so they're our babies before we had real babies, and they're like family. So what other pets have you seen like that people have that ride with them? Like, is it dogs, cats, any unique animals?
We don't allow anything but cats and dogs.
Okay.
We've heard too many horror stories. A bird flew out, and different things. I do all these different truck shows. And at Walcott last year, a guy had 2 kangaroos that are in his truck. I
haven't heard of kangaroos. That's so cool.
He had them out there.
Yeah. I've seen too many like videos on social media of like a kangaroo like kicking people or something.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things one of our clients has that hires a lot of teams, like they have a pig that's like a celebrity within their organization. I just think that's the coolest thing.
We've been asked about that, and our company turned it down because they don't get rabies shots. And we have to have that rabies shot just in case something happened. Somebody got bit or something.
Yeah. And you have a good base with dogs and cats. I think that's what most people have. It was kind of funny. We had, so Zip and Zoe were two of my pets. So when, I think I was in middle school, we had two baby squirrels like fall out of their nest. And so we rescued them, and like, I had to get up every couple hours and like feed them at night. And, so that's probably my most unique pet, is we like raised from when they were little pink baby squirrels to when we would release Zip. And so they would climb up the curtains in the house. I mean, it was crazy. I can't believe my parents let me do it. But eventually they would go outside and then come back and let me put them back in the cage. But eventually, as they got bigger, they would, they eventually were out on their own. But that was probably my most unique. I don't know with any fleet I'd be allowed to bring Zip and Zoe, but it was a lot of fun. Thank you for your time today. I really enjoyed just getting to know you guys. Any way I can ever help, just let me know. Would love to stay in touch, whether it's like seeing you guys at Reads Across America or at different shows and things like that. Are you guys going to any shows like the rest of this year? We already had.
I'll be at Walcott in July.
Walcott. That's actually one I've never made it to.
It's the best show I've done. We've done Louisville, Houston, San Antonio, Kentucky, and Walcott by far is our best show.
Is that just because like for teams or just for drivers in general? You think it's better turnout?
Of truck parking. 80 acres of truck parking.
Okay.
For most of these, there's nothing like that. I mean, and this is open all weekend. We set up on Wednesday. It goes through Saturday night at 5:00. And these drivers can come and go on the weekend. They have time to do it. So I had drivers last year that were waiting for me when I got there on Wednesday because their company had done away with their team driving as a husband and wife, both running solo. And they met me there, so they were waiting for us to get there. They wanted the applications. I don't know why they didn't call, but...
That's awesome. They're just like sitting at your booth.
Yeah, right, because I get the same booth every year. And so they were just waiting there for us to get there.
That's awesome. That just shows you guys have a really good reputation in the industry.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Stacy and Sandie.
Thank you.
Our goal with the Hire Truckers podcast is to provide industry insights, marketing trends, and motivation to help you level up your recruiting game. Thank you for joining us today. And if we added value, please take 10 seconds to share this with your network.